Celeste Evans, a young woman from the small town of Merrill in Wisconsin, recently moved to the city of Milwaukee when she landed a job as a reporter at a news channel. She rented an apartment where she was living all by herself. Things were going great, but Celeste often felt a little scared and nervous at times because of the types of crimes she would be reporting. It was just the other day that police found the remains of a young man by Lake Geneva. His body was found bloodless, shriveled to nothing but dry skin and bones, only one day after he went missing. This was not the first of unusual discoveries, but there were many before and after it. And the police were a hassle when it came to getting information on these strange occurrences. Excuse me? Hold on, where do you think you're going? I'm Celeste Evans. I'm a reporter. Here's my ID. That's great, but Officer Channing has restricted access to the crime scene. I can't allow you in. What do you mean you can't allow me in? Miss, outsiders are not allowed to interfere with the investigation. Officer Channing might take serious charges against you for being a nuisance every time. I've told you this before. Nuisance? I have a right to report this to the people. Who does your Officer Channing think he is? I demand to speak to him right now. Is everything all right, Pedro? What are you trying to hide, Officer Channing? I'll complain against you to higher authorities. You cannot deny access to reporters like this. Step back. I'm in charge here, and under my authority, you, Miss Celeste Evans, I've been keeping an eye on you. You, specifically, aren't allowed. I will not allow you to violate my rights like this. You have to learn how to deal better with these reporters. What are you doing to me? You can't arrest me like this. I need my lawyer here right now. Yeah. Officers like you need to be fired. I'm sure something suspicious is going on in there. You people are trying to cover something up. I'm letting you go, Evans, but next time I'll make you spend a night at the station. I'm gonna get to the bottom of this, Officer Channing. You can't stop me today, Pedro. Take this. I have special access to the crime scene. You can't prevent me this time. Let me take a look at that. What? Where did she go? Celeste had finally managed to get into the crime scene. The stench was horrible, but what she saw when she passed the crew made her sick to her core. She had never seen anything as gruesome as this. The grounds were splattered in red. It seemed as if a beast had devoured its meal, ripping and tearing through its prey. Celeste held her stomach. The sight was horrendous. She immediately ran to the sidewalk and bent over nauseously. She sat down feeling horrible when suddenly she heard footsteps coming her way. Great, Pedro was here to harass her again. Are you okay? Celeste was a bit taken aback to hear a familiar deep voice. She looked up to see Officer Channing holding a cup of steaming coffee. He sat down beside her. Have this. I don't want coffee. This isn't coffee, this is tea. It will make you feel better. Celeste took the cup in her hands. Who or what could do such a thing? Why do you do this to yourself, Celeste? I warned you many times. You thought I wouldn't be able to take it? I'm a strong woman. Okay, but I don't think I was wrong to judge. This isn't something the ordinary person is used to tolerating. Then you must be something extraordinary then, Officer Channing. Maybe I am. Isn't it a bit chilly here? You want to share this? Why don't we take a break together? And so, the friendship began. Celeste started meeting Channing outside of work. They often met for a cup of coffee or for brunch, and soon enough, they started dating. You know, you're much more entertaining when you fuss with me and interfere in my work. Yeah, and you're as much annoying now as you are when you're Officer Channing. Hey, it's fun to see the beastly savage side of a beautiful young woman like you. Their relationship was working out great. They worked hand in hand. However, Channing kept confidential information confidential, which sometimes irritated Celeste. Channing could let Celeste in on certain things, but he preferred not to. He could tell Celeste was pretty paranoid about the occurrences that were going on in town, and he didn't want to frighten her more. Celeste often mentioned how stressed she became after returning home all alone after being to those locations. It was a few months into their relationship that she managed to convince Channing to move in with her. Celeste was more than happy when Channing agreed. Now she could finally rest in peace and not wake up to nightmares feeling like someone had entered the house waiting to tear her to pieces in the middle of the night. Don't you think we should hire someone to bring this up 5 floors? It's just a few boxes, Celeste. These are really heavy, Channing. We'll need to arrange a trolley. However, it was after Channing moved in that Celeste started to become awfully suspicious and nervous about who she was suddenly living with. Something about Channing was different. He was extraordinarily strong, beyond human capabilities. Whenever Celeste would mention it, he would just laugh and say, "I'm a police officer, we have to train a lot to deal with you psycho reporters, alright?" Hey, I'm not a psycho, okay? I wouldn't have gotten the job otherwise. They offered it to me all on their own. Really? Yeah, back when I was in Merrill, there was one of these strange attacks. A victim was found, his skin was pale white, there was not a drop of blood present in his body. Some reporters had come to investigate the matter. They wanted to interview me because I had known the man and seen him before. But something happened to them. The reporter fell awfully sick. I don't know what I was thinking. I took the mic and reported the news live on her behalf. When the channel saw the report, it worked as an audition for me. And they offered me the job, and then I moved to the city. But I didn't really expect it to be so much to handle. Then there was a time when Channing was getting ready for work one morning, when Celeste noticed a scar on his shoulder. It wasn't from a knife or a bullet wound, it was something else. Oh, that? It happened to me when I was young. My father and I were out hunting. Animal attack in the woods. And you still have that scar after so many years. How old do you think I am, Celeste? How old are you? 127. What? 27? Right. Sure. But it wasn't actually after a special night spent with Channing that Celeste started to doubt if he was hiding something from her. Celeste woke up the next morning to find deep scratches on her back and on her wrist that she obviously didn't do to herself. It must have happened the previous night, but the injuries were so unusual. It didn't look like anything a human could do. Was Channing even a human or something else? Not being able to hold in her curiosity or the fear, Celeste headed to the library. After a lot of research, she came across a book that showed similar characteristics of that she saw in Channing. Physically strong, permanent scar that remains after transforming into a beast, enhanced ability to heal, super reflexes, night vision, shape-shifting. Is he a werewolf? When Celeste got back home that evening, she was actually a bit nervous to see Channing again. What if he was in his true form? What if he found out that she knew? Was this all a bait for her? Was her life in danger? Celeste started keeping some distance from Channing for the next few days. But it seemed that their professions had them crossing paths more often than she'd like. There's been another attack. It's a bit far from town. Why don't you go? No, boss said it would be best if you go. Besides, you can get all the information from Officer Channing anyway. But Celeste was rather forced to get going to the crime scene. This time it was located by the cliffside. Celeste could see Channing across the setup boundary, but this time she chose to stay away from it all. She was walking near the cliffside when she started to hear something from the woods. When she walked closer, she realized it was the sound of a low grunting noise. At once, she caught sight of two eyes glaring back at her. She stumbled back and fell to the ground. She should have known wild animals lurked in these areas. The crew was far from where she was. She didn't know if they could even see her. Should she stand her ground or stay still? Celeste turned back to see the bear just a few feet away, ready to charge at her. When suddenly she heard a voice. "Get out of the way, Celeste!" Channing pulled Celeste behind him. The bear pounced onto him instantly. Celeste ran to get help. But when she was back, she was bewildered to see Channing had tackled the bear to the ground. "What do you think you were doing? Who told you to wander off in this area? If that bear attacked you and dragged you away today, none of us would have known. Celeste, how could you be so foolish?" I'm sorry. Channing had gone berserk on Celeste in front of everyone. It was a bit embarrassing, but Celeste could see the love in his eyes. It reassured her faith in him. She didn't know what he was, or how he did what he did, but she knew one thing. He did love her, and he would protect her. That night, when Celeste got home from work, she found Channing out in the balcony. All the lights in the apartment were turned off. "Celeste, come out here. The weather is nice." Celeste joined Channing. He stood there by the railing looking out into the night sky. "It's a full moon tonight." "You know what that means." "What?" "The werewolves are out to hunt." "Are you serious? You think werewolves are responsible for what's happening?" A big smirk spread across Channing's lips as he chuckled. "Who knows, but it's definitely not just them. Have you heard the legend of the lichens? Tonight seems like the perfect night for a story." "You mean a werewolf?" "Yeah, a werewolf. Or perhaps the mortal enemy of the vampires." "Vampires exist too?" "Werewolves are a little different from lichens. Lichens are more dominant than werewolves or vampires. They're like humanoid wolves. When a person is scratched or bitten by a lichen, infected with its blood, they're bound to transform into it. Those who were once human become cursed to become a lichen. They are then bound by its nature for the rest of eternity. They're more stronger, faster, and powerful than vampires when they're in their true form. Vampires have hated them from the beginning of time. There's been ages of ongoing battle between the two. About what? About their food source. So you're saying they're out to hunt? On a full moon like tonight. They shapeshift into their true form, into a wicked, hairy beast with sharp fangs and claws. Bogus. Werewolves are not those psychotic beasts they show in movies. They don't turn into a hairy wolf every full moon night and hide in the woods. They don't smell bad or have those unimaginable fangs. As a matter of fact, they have it all wrong with vampires too. You wouldn't be able to distinguish a vampire from a normal person." "But don't vampires have pale skin? They don't go out into the sun and things like that?" "No, it's not like that in real life. What both werewolves and vampires have is more like a physical hunger than a physical transformation. When the urge arises, werewolves become physically weak and frail, while vampires become pale-skinned and weak, until they content their appetites with living meat or living blood. That's where the battle begins. They only transform as much as needed, so you can't imagine a vampire to change much in appearance. But lichens and werewolves do transform slightly, only enough to be able to satisfy themselves. Like a stronger jaw, sharper teeth, sharper claws, a broader body, more muscle mass. And what happens if they don't find their prey? What happens to any other living soul if they're deprived of food? But eventually they do manage. You can't stop a beast from hunting its meal. This can't be true, it's only a legend. Now when I think about it, it's like you're... Like my what? The physical hunger and urges vampires and werewolves go through is something like what you go through when you have those mood swings and weakness when it's your time of the month. Celeste pushed Channing away. "Channing, you're just too much." Channing laughed as he went back inside. "You have yet to see what I can be. The night has only started. I'm waiting for you." Celeste took in a deep breath. She couldn't help but smile as she felt the winds blow through her hair. She shook her head, laughing softly. Out of everybody in the world, every creature in the world, I have to fall in love with a werewolf?
If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe to my channel and share this video with your friends and family.